I think that definitely shaped my idea of staying here. That openness, not just from people that leave and are from here, but also from people coming from other countries. They all kind of embody that idea of openness as they come to the city, and I think that's one of the things that kind of embraces in the city.
Welcome to Of Galway for the World, the podcast that brings you inspiring stories and ideas from Galway's vibrant global community.
Brought to you by Global Galway, the University of Galway dedicated office to connecting students, staff and partners around the world, fostering international collaboration, opportunities and support.
Join us as we explore how Galway is making an impact far beyond its borders, right here from Galway for the world. Hi everyone, I'm Corey.
And I'm Phuong.
Welcome back to the University of Galway podcast, where we explore the stories and values that connect Galway with the world.
And today we are diving into the University of Galway core value, Openness. Yeah. So let's start with a quick hello. Can you both introduce yourself to our listener?
Ladies first.
Okay.
Thanks, Axel. Putting me in the hot seat first. So my name's Catherine. I am the head of global partnerships here at the University of Galway. Partnerships is a reasonably new area for the university. So I moved to Galway in August 24. So I always say this to all of our respective partners, but our team has just celebrated its first birthday. And we're a small team, but I like to think we're small and mighty. My background, unsurprisingly, is in partnerships. As you can probably hear, I'm a Londoner. So before coming to Galway, my work experience was for University of East London, London Business School. So really a range of both lower ranking universities, higher ranking universities, and Galway is, on the upper end of that ranking system. I was educated in both the States and the UK, so I was really fortunate to go on a full scholarship to high school in the States, the Lawrenceville School, which I always find this really interesting because people that work in internationalisation have almost always had an international education experience, so that was mine. My sort of background is I've got an MBA from Warwick Business School, which comes in handy when trying to formulate new partnerships and new ventures.
I bet. And another international person here today.
Yeah, so my name is Axel. So I come from Venezuela. I was born in Venezuela, in the capital, and then I came here when I was 18 years old to study English. The idea was to only come here to go for 6 months and then move on to France. But plans changed, as we can see now. So now I have been here around 14 years since I came. 13 years, sorry. And I currently have 2 roles in university. So one of them is marketing and recruitment in the School of Business and Economics. And the other one is as international coordinator in the School of Nursing. So I guess in terms of like the theme of openness in my role, I would say that the key thing is that I have to present how the university is welcoming, how diverse it is, and how open it is to new ideas, new perspectives, and new cultures. And I think that's how it embeds in my role. And I think that has shaped my experience as well throughout the university as I got my Bachelor of Commerce degree.
Right. And so what drew you here in the first place?
I guess if I have to be completely honest, I've said this to my friends before, Galway kind of feels like the most Latin place I've been in Europe so far, including Spain sometimes. I think it's the warmth, I guess, of the people, how welcome they are when you come here and you kind of are a bit lost, let's say, and anyone on the streets will kind of help you out. And even if you don't have the best English to kind of communicate, they will do a great effort to kind of help you out and get you to whatever you want to go or do whatever it is that you need to do. And this was the messaging I also kind of gathered from other students' testimonials as I was researching about Galway. So I think that's the key thing that attracted me to it.
Yeah, and Catherine, you have family here?
Yeah, so I have family in Galway. And so I've been very fortunate to have been coming to Galway for many, many, many years. I'll be completely honest, at that time, I did not think that I would be living in Galway. But actually, when the role came up and it looked like such an exciting time for the university, as I mentioned, partnerships is a new function and my team was not in existence before I started at the university. It was just such an amazing opportunity. And, you know, as Axel says, Galway is just an amazing city. It is arguably the most Irish of the universities. This is my little plug now for Galway. But, you know, again, in all seriousness, the friendliness, I think moving here, you know, I moved here sort of by myself, and at no point did I sort of have that feeling of loneliness and isolation. And, you know, talking about the sort of values that the University of Galway has, I think actually people are very open to getting to know you and things like that. So it's actually been I'm pleased to say, a really easy transition to Galway life from London.
Wonderful.
How does that experience with you, Axel?
In terms of like the city usage. So I guess if I think from the student perspective, I did find the city quite vibrant. Definitely the multicultural aspect of the city eases your adaptation into like the new norm, let's say, especially when you come from countries that the culture might be really different to the way things are done here. The fact that you have other people that have gone through that experience or are going through that experience but just a little bit ahead of you helps a lot, because then you get a lot of tips on what to do, what not to do. And I think that definitely shaped my idea of staying here. That openness, not just from people that leave and are from here, but also from people coming from other countries. They all kind of embody that idea of openness as they come to the city, and I think that's one of the things that kind of embraces in the city. Like,
yeah, that's lovely when you share from your own experience. And I know that you are working in marketing, right?
Yeah.
And you're definitely looking at trends.
Yeah.
Right. So what other trends and the reason that you see are the students are choosing here, Galway?
I think like if I have to summarize, I will probably choose three main trends. So one of them is that we are a research university. So a lot of the students have an interest in universities because they want to know that what they're being taught is leading edge research, or that is embedding the curriculum somehow. So that's a good key attraction for a lot of the students, especially for postgraduate programs. In terms of undergraduate program, I believe the university has done a lot of strides in terms of like integration and helping the students not only to just succeed in the academic, let's say, goals, but also in their life goals. For example, we have the Career Development Center, which a lot of the students have reported back to us is great, because not other universities tend to have a Career Development Center embedded within the university and in the courses. We also have, for example, the Start 100 program that is very important for the School of Business because it's about entrepreneurship, for example, and we have those courses that are for entrepreneurship. And I think the third thing that they will be choosing, the reason why they will be choosing Galway is safety. And a lot of the students tend to tell us that, for example, they don't feel as welcome anymore going to the United States. They might not feel necessarily as welcome as well going to the UK to certain universities, especially with the political aspects that are happening in both countries. So choosing Galway gives them the same experience of having like an international education in a more manageable setting. Of course, it's a smaller city in terms of managing for someone that is like completely new to the city. But safety keeps coming back being like the key aspect that international students are looking for, especially when they come from countries that are not necessarily the most safe. They have expectations in their mind that they don't realize won't happen here, but it does determine their decision. Like,
yeah, I get that. And so when you talk about partnerships and you talk about finding those new partners, and you know, Axel's talking about what draws students here, what do you consider in partnerships that really makes Galway so attractive, and what's attractive for University of Galway and their partners?
Yeah, so I think Galway has a city and a university, has a lot to offer partners. And I know you might think, well, you would say that, Catherine, but genuinely has a lot to offer. I think, you know, I did sort of touch on it, but, you know, we are, you know, truly an Irish university. We're bilingual. You know, we are fortunate to kind of have that kind of strong links to our heritage, being right near a Gaeltacht region. So I think that actually for partners that want a truly Irish experience that is also a European experience with a global outlook, I think we have a lot to offer from that perspective. You know, Axel touched on it, but I think we married together really well our courses, but also our research delivery, and the opportunity for students to get involved in projects, whether it be connecting with other partners or, you know, research projects, work in kind of the wet labs, things like that. All things that are really unique to Galway and also the region in which we sit, particularly when now we're talking about our environmental courses. in terms of what we value in our partners, I think one of the things that I've tried really hard to instill in our partnerships is that, you know, it really is a genuine holistic partnership. It's not that we are kind of, you know, using our partners for things. It really has to be a reciprocal arrangement. Exactly. And, you know, I think it's that I realise sounds very what you would expect in partnership is not always the case. And I think kind of marrying that together is really key for any kind of partnership. And it's how partnerships grow. You know, what can start as a kind of like recruitment style partnership, you know, students coming on to say our master's courses from partner institutions that maybe don't offer those courses, can then transform into research partnerships, to kind of strategic partnerships, all kind of levels of partnership. And I think really that's what we're striving to achieve here at the University of Galway. But in terms of the kind of student-led and education partnerships, I think what really makes us a strong contender is the student support systems, really. I mean, they really are second to none. And I think every student that comes onto our campus, and I think it's particularly important for international students that are far away from home, you know, to have that level of support, I think is really key.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's what we have to offer. So what are you looking back from them, from the partners?
Yeah. So I think there are several different things that we kind of look for really in a partner. A lot of the time it's maybe looking at things that would either complement what we do. So for instance, I just went to Indonesia last year, Indonesia and Vietnam actually. And one of the things that the country priorities in that region are really to boost up environmental courses and environmental leadership. It's a key area of their country strategy where they are looking to boost talent in that area. So this for us was kind of like music to our ears, because we obviously have such a suite of environmental courses. And I think I'm right in saying we have environmental courses that run in every single college, from science engineering to business, to even sort of our sort of College of Medicine as well, and also obviously our arts with our sort of geography master's courses. So for us, that was a way that partnership worked really well, because we could kind of give them what they wanted in terms of essentially training talent if their students came to us. And obviously we then boost our diversity and have lots of international students on our courses. So I think that's a really, really kind of nice example of how we can help each other out. But I also think, you know, and I sort of say this to my team a lot, and it is a quote and it's a bit cheesy, but bear with me. So there's a really, you know, JFK said in his inaugural address in 1961, ask not what you can do for your country, but what your country can do for you. Right. And I think this is absolutely says what we're about with partnerships. It's not about what you can do for us. Right. It's how we can support each other and what we can do for you.
So, I mean, is there a partnership Latin America and Venezuela?
Well, I don't think so necessarily. Venezuela is going through a lot of issues at the moment.
But how did you find your way here?
So it's actually one of the reasons why I came here. So the political situation in Venezuela hasn't been great, let's say now, nearly all my life, since I have memory. So one of the reasons why I kind of felt the need to go out and study abroad was the political situation. And Ireland at that point seemed, well, it still is pretty safe in terms of political landscape. And when you compare with other nations in terms of like integration and so on, it seemed the easiest to kind of absorb me into the culture. So that's why I chose Ireland specifically. But I just wanted to expand a little bit, because as well there is an expectation in the partnership from the side of a student, what we expect the students to do or know or behave once they're here. Really? And we, for example, in the School of Business, with the partnerships that we have for, let's say, Erasmus International Exchange, or even international students coming from the United States or Australia or so on, what we try to embed in them is the idea of a global mind, global citizen. So it's not just the fact that you're coming here to do a program, do your program, forget about it, and then go home and you just show a paper. The idea is that the courses will embed this idea of innovation, openness to new ideas, ability to kind of think outside the box, even when there is constraints in that box. So I think from the perspective side of things, that's what we're expecting from our partnerships with our academic partners or a company that are helping in some way shape the curriculum, for example, is that idea that the students will engage. It's not just, you're not just here to learn a theory and then go home. The idea is that you engage with the theory and expand on it if you can, and enhance the learning and enhance the knowledge that we have within the university that it impacts outside of the university.
Is that something you look for in the students when you go and visit with them?
Yes, I kind of, when I have done my trips, for example, this year I was in Brazil, I was in Mexico, Colombia, and one of the key things that I'm looking when I'm seeing prospective students is that idea, do they have that kind of want to really engage with the university? Or is this a student that is just looking to pass minimum grades, go back home, and have no real impact?
Yeah.
Which... There are students like this, and I understand that they're there, but it's not necessarily my ideal of who I want to come to the business school. I want people that will have a long-lasting impact, not just in the school and with their student body, but outside of the boundaries of the university as well.
Yeah. So I'm curious, how does it feel like when you see the student who you met in their home countries coming here and try? How does that feel?
From my perspective, it's quite interesting because, when I see them, usually they are at that beginning stage of considering what place they're going to go to. And most of the time, I kind of have to give them a brief overview where is Galway. They know Dublin, but they don't know beyond the Dublin boundaries. But once I start explaining a little bit about Galway, and I usually use my own experience as an international student and how I found it here to kind of give them a sense of what their experience could be. Usually, once I know that they have set the register for the programs and I see them here, I usually try to meet them again to do a video testimonial, because the idea is to kind of record that trajectory from the initial stage of, I want to study abroad, to the final stage of like finally getting a degree and the experience that they have here. But more often than not, I kind of feel like the full circle sensation of like, oh yeah, I met them when they were originally thinking about it, and here they are graduating. I helped that somehow. Maybe they're very small, maybe they had already made their mind, but it's kind of like giving a little bit back of what the university gave me and all the opportunities that it gave me when I did my Bachelor of Commerce here.
Well, a lot of students go on to do stuff too.
Yeah. I was just going to say, just to come in on that, and just, I guess, a little anecdote, which I think is quite nice. One of my sort of favourite things, I don't work in international student recruitment, obviously, but one of the things that I think is quite nice is when you see, obviously Galway is so small, when you see international students that have, come through the recruitment channels out and about in, like, with friends that they've made and that kind of thing, and they will always come up to you if they recognise you from being in the global office and sort of speak to you, and you can sort of say to them, like, oh, like, how are you getting on, things. And there was a student again from Indonesia who I had this experience with, and his reply to me was, oh, I love it, I'm Irish now. Great. You're having such, but it is that feeling of kind of really, almost being so embedded in the university, and that feeling of kind of belonging, that I just thought, well, that's amazing,
I mean, I'm not Irish myself, but I do feel that, I feel what he says, that sometimes being Irish is that state of mind, is that state of openness, that state of acceptance, and just generally being supportive, because everybody here, as you said, if English isn't your first language, like they still try to help you figure it out. The first day in class that I was here, I was walking through one maze building here, and 3 people stop and ask me just because I looked lost. They said, can I help you?
Yeah.
And 2 people will like walk me down a few corners and like, okay, and then left, right, 2 lefts, and then go that way. And then so I go on a little bit and get more lost.
Yeah.
Wow. It's that warmth, isn't it? It's that warmth and kind of eagerness to help, not just because they have to, but because they genuinely want to help, and make sure that you get to where you want to go or to what you want to do.
Yeah,
exactly. So, when you see these students succeeding, when you see them moving on, a lot of times they're moving on to stuff here. Some people stay longer than they intended, right? Right? Yes. So, Catherine, this is kind of a question for you here. Galway, it's a small city. They kind of punch above their weight as far as what they can offer graduates. There's a med tech kind of centered here. What are some of the things that you find valuable when trying to attract those new partners?
Yeah, so I think what's becoming more and more evident in kind of the partnership space is we're actually not just, I hesitate to say the word selling, but selling a degree program. We're actually selling a career and a lifestyle almost. And I think you mentioned the kind of med tech area. I mean, we have, such leading companies based in Galway, you know, Boston Scientific, Medtronic, all of those really big companies. And that's a real draw for partners. And I think almost painting the picture of that pathway, kind of, right, you come to us from Vietnam and you can do our MSc in the business school, and then from there you can go on and, you know, study kind of leadership and do this program in Medtronic or whatever. I think that is really key. It's really about, also because we are so small, one of the advantages to that is that we genuinely have really good links with all these companies and multinationals. And, you know, we do have also an award-winning career service, and the kind of connections they've been able to build as well. It truly is almost like a cyclical journey where the students, you know, they come in and they are kind of moved through the stages ultimately into those careers. So I think that's a really compelling story, because I think, you know, particularly if a potential international partner was sort of thinking, right, Ireland or the UK, for instance, as both English speaking countries, that's something that Ireland, I feel does better than the UK, having worked in UK organisations, but also more so than Dublin, like I said, because we do have those real links, you know, people, and for all the reasons we've just said about people wanting to help you as well, it's almost like embedded in the culture in Galway. So I think that's really key. And I think, again, because we are a research-led university, a lot of the professors are doing research with these multinational companies. So they know their students, and then they're going into the companies to present research or work in labs, you know, work in the kind of big medical device companies, work on environmental plants, all this kind of thing. And they can bring their students along with them. So it's a truly personal touch as well, I feel. And I think that's what Galway does really, really well, perhaps better than some of the perhaps larger institutions, both in Ireland and further afield.
Yeah. If I could expand on that, actually, because that's very topical for the School of Business, especially because of the management courses, for example, where we really have to have practical examples for the students to know how do they apply where we're teaching them. And it's these partnerships with like Boston Scientific, for example, or PwC, Deloitte, Diligent, all of them, where the students are able to either through placements or practical summer schools, have that experience. And linking it back to the idea of openness is the openness from the industry in the city that allows for that experience to happen. Yeah. And not just the city, but like around the country. And the name that now, the way that the University of Galway name carries, allows for that openness when we're trying to get students into their industry, or at least for us an example of how the industry works.
Yeah. Right. But I also think, just again to piggyback off of that, I think it's worth mentioning that as well as all our sort of 4 colleges, within that as well, we have Shannon College of Hotel Management as well. Yeah. And actually that's something that the name, the Shannon College name carries, you know, its reputation is, you know, international, and they've got a really great reputation, and it kind of almost speaks for itself. But one of the things they do really well actually is this kind of promoting a pathway, and part of that is because the placements on all of their courses, but actually in terms of really highlighting the career opportunities, I think that, and then their hospitality courses, that is something that is really, really shines through, and that's why they're a very easy school, if you like, to get partners for, because of that. But it's absolutely, you know, piggybacking on what Axel's just said, I think that's a really key area for the university.
Makes total sense. Openness and the hospitality, it's hand in hand.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
I think you have been hitting a lot of point, like key selling point here at the University of Galway, like the technical expertise, the networking, and all of the opportunities that you are bringing in. And I also noticed that the structure of the building and also the space here also somehow create a kind of like openness. And I really like it there at the business school. Can you like elaborate more on that, like kind of space that you are creating? Yeah,
so I guess like in the business school, because we recently remodeled one of our key areas to make it exactly more open.
Right.
And the idea is that idea of interaction, making sure the students can interact. There are spaces where it's a group work for small groups, and there are spaces where you can have up to 30, 50 people interacting and working together. And the idea is to not just say, oh, yes, we're an open university. There's a value of openness here. It's actually instilling these in the physical space we are.
Right.
By allowing interactive spaces, by allowing students to have study areas that are easily accessible, and that there's as little restrictions as possible in terms of working together. And I think that permeates around the university in general, in the physical spaces, I believe.
I think same for us within Global Galway, which is our sort of international office, what we call our international office. We are very fortunate to have some fantastic facilities there. We have a big open plan office, and yes, the building looks magnificent and everything, but actually the real key to that, and I think this is so important in internationalization, is the fact that I can be having a conversation with my team member, and then another team member from a different team overhears that, and then you're physically connecting the dots, versus being kind of working in silo. But I think it's also, again, about really encouraging that kind of cognitive diversity piece of, diversity of thought and opinions in there, and that kind of, I guess, almost organizational behavior piece of kind of a melting pot of opinions, and that's really, again, kind of going back to the openness, it's also about being transparent. Exactly. Rather than, like I said, working almost behind closed doors, if you like, physically, if you're in separate offices.
Right.
Isolated.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense, though. It feels like a very Irish cultural trait. I've been in pubs, I've been in school areas where there's been a group project, there's been a group talking, and someone does over here and says, oh, hey, I heard you over talking, and then they'll come and sometimes even sit down and talk to you, and it's never to argue a point. It's more to like say, oh, I know about this, and to insert that diverse point of view, and it's that openness to being able to have that conversation. It's really important.
Yeah, and personally, I also think that the art scenes here in Galway also create a kind of like open atmosphere for people. I like it when the streets are bustling with people, and then people flood to the streets. Do you think that kind of art is something like Galway unique and more open to the world?
Yeah, so I think actually Galway as a city really encourages sort of self-expression, if you like.
Right, exactly.
So, for instance, just even down to the fact that we don't have busking licenses in Galway, so you can. I mean, I'm not a busker myself. I'm not quite sure how it works, but no, you won't find me on Shop Street in the weekends, singing a song. But even that, the fact that there aren't as many restrictions as, say, other cities in Europe, I think is really kind of shows you that. I think even things like, we were talking in the kind of pre-introduction about the kind of where's the best spots to go in Galway, the fact that there's so much sort of live music and, the whole kind of Irish culture of the sort of session musicians, where it is literally you bring an instrument, you join in. That in itself, I mean, it really is, I mentioned it earlier, but it really is embedded into the kind of Irish culture and almost like the psyche. And I think, that is something that Galway is particularly known for. I mean, if you want good trad music, come to Galway, So I think that's the arts, and obviously we are home to some, the International Arts Festival, which, by its name, it draws artists from all over the world to come to Galway, to come to what is, a small city on the west coast of Ireland, but a gateway to Europe and the rest of the world within that. And I do think as well, we're home to sort of, the kind of Macnas theatre production, the Druid theatre. We have huge amounts of poets, theatre, theatre companies. We've got our own relatively new research institute that runs along the research theme with creativity as well.
I think just to add to that as well, and from the perspective of a student, the idea is, when you come to college and you do a college degree, it's not just about the academic side of things, sort of self-learning, self-exploration. And Galway being such an artistic city is a place where you are allowed to go through that journey of self-exploration and identity and so on. And I think that really helps students when they're in university, regardless of the constraints that they had in their original cultural backgrounds. When they come here, it's such a melting pot of cultures, and with all the festivals happening around and all the different things tailored to different tastes, it kind of allows them the opportunity to kind of identify what is that they like. Regardless of where they come from or who they're with. And I think that in particular is a big selling point for a lot of prospective students. The idea of that's cultural and art scene gives them that opportunity to kind of go beyond and explore themselves while they're doing their programs with us.
But I think as well, just, thinking about, I guess, our course structures and within the College of Arts as well, it lends itself actually to trying different things, with our joint sort of honours programmes. But also, I think, with my sort of partnerships hat on for a second, actually one of the real key drivers in partnerships is the fact that we offer a lot of choice, but we also offer really some quite niche arts courses as well, and that can be a really good hook for getting partnerships. So, for instance, just off the top of my head, thinking about our sort of antiquities programs, our classics programs, all of these are really well ranked courses in their own right, and actually that's unfortunately a lot of places no longer offer those kinds of courses. So for us, it's a real opportunity to kind of get our name out there for being leaders in those sectors, but also using them as leverage to partner with institutions and create pathways for really talented students with those interests
It
from around the
enhances
world.
our distinctiveness, in
exactly.
comparison with other universities.
Sounds like you figured out what year two's got to be all about.
We'll see. Come back to me in a year and I'll tell you how it's going.
Yeah.
So have you used the Career Service Center when you were a student, and how did you find that?
So in my experience with the Career Development Center, because when I did my bachelor's degree, I was already working in a language school. So I was very lucky in terms of how the things worked out in my life. That at that point where I started my bachelor's degree, I already was in a managerial position in a language school. So my idea of using this Career Development Center was to expand the kind of sectors that I could work in and kind of see, are there other avenues or opportunities for me once I graduated. And to be honest with you, it was excellent. The workshops, the mock interviews, for example, that happened in the actual building, in the School of Business, in the BISOM, the room that we were talking about before. They're very insightful. You do get to experience like interview process from real managers that might be the ones deciding in the future whether they hire you or not. So that is fantastic. But also, for example, like the career events day that happens in the Bailey Allen Hall, where they bring all the employers here, kind of gives you a better idea of like, okay, these are the people that will value my degree. And it makes it easy for you to identify where can you apply, what are the places that are most likely to know the value of your degree, instead of going on your own and trying to figure out this on your own, So my experience in general with the Career Development Center was, even though my original idea was to find out whether I wanted to change careers or not, going through them made me realize my strengths are within the career that I'm in, and like my skills and aptitudes suit perfectly to these type of roles. So it kind of helped me explore that side of myself, and I think that's very valuable when you are starting, especially like I had the advantage, I had already been in the workforce, but for someone that is coming completely green, they have never been in the workforce, coming after their bachelor's degree, that is an invaluable experience, because otherwise you really won't know where did you start from. So the fact that you have already started here doing the mock interviews, doing the like the careers events day and so on, it really takes away that fear of going into the workforce or applying for the jobs. And as an international student, even more, because you're not used to the etiquette, you might not be used to the little things that, cultural nuances that are really relevant, but they're usually not told until you experience them.
Right. The Irish job market is different.
Exactly. And that's the importance of the Career Development Center and all the workshops they do. It's kind of adjust everyone, and not just international students, even like students from Ireland coming from different regions or so on. But the idea is that to give you that kind of baseline, so at least you are better prepared to go into the workforce, or at least to enter the workforce when you graduate.
Right. And I think also the students are encouraged to give our feedbacks to these kind of services as well, that also create a kind of like openness that you can voice up, and then you can also contribute to that openness of the university, right?
And just kind of linking those thoughts together. So like the idea of openness and the Career Development Center, I think the key thing there is how they bring industry into the university and how they manage to get the industry and like key people that are decision makers in their industries or in their companies to actually participate in events with the students. That's the idea of openness that I think is really good to highlight, is how willing industry around the university is open to participate and engage with the student body and the academic body as well.
Well, and I want to track back to that feedback loop. What is some feedback that your department has received, or is there anything that you've like collected or something that's made you go, oh, there's something we can do? Like, what's some valuable stuff you've gotten?
Yeah, so firstly, our students are not shy about giving feedback, good or bad. So I have to say it's something that I think, and actually, again, going back to this theme of, you know, openness and you know, cognitive diversity. So we run, it actually doesn't sit within my team, but within our office, we have a sort of student officer, and she is really there for international student support and runs everything from sort of orientation to kind of what she calls Fáilte mornings, which Fáilte is the Irish for welcome. And that's the only word I know, so please don't ask me to speak anymore. But Fáilte mornings where kind of students can kind of get together and it helps kind of meet people. So I know she's had a lot of feedback on that, and I think that that is something that we do quite differently. We really try and kind of create those social connections as well as just the academic connections as well. In terms of feedback for our careers services specifically, obviously this isn't my area necessarily, but as I said, they are an award-winning careers unit, and I think they have really honed their craft in terms of really listening to that feedback, hearing what the students need. And so now actually even in the curriculum, a lot of our courses now include a placement off the back of that student feedback of wanting that. As Axel was saying, you know, part of being in the workplace is that confidence to put yourself forward, and I think that's something that both the academics and our career service and all of us here in the kind of, whether it be professional services staff or academic staff, really understand. And obviously that's the end goal, right? Getting the students into careers, or whether it be further study that they are passionate about and excelling in. And so really listening on that feedback loop is key for that.
I think I have a great example. So 2 years ago, we had a student that went through our management sustainability program. And so he's from India, and for the workshops in the skills interview, he met the manager in Diligent, the HR manager in Diligent. And this is a place where he wanted to work. And it just so happened that once he graduated, he applied for a position in Diligent, and who was the person interviewing him? It was the same manager. So the feedback in terms of what we get from the students is the opportunities that the whole process offers them. It actually does kind of embed them with that energy and confidence to go out there and do what they need to do to get the roles that they want to have. The feedback that we have had from the career events day is fantastic. We have students that literally from after the careers events day, they have graduate positions being offered to them. So I think the value of the feedback of the students is that it reaffirms that what the Career Development Center is doing is what they should be doing. And it also informs what else can we do for them.
Right.
You know, because one of the things that at least we identify in the School of Business that probably could do better is linking better our company partnerships, for example, with the undergraduate programs. And then the PwC partnership was implemented, where essentially the PwC company representatives teach certain modules throughout the program. But none of this would happen unless we get that feedback from the students. So like you said, it's good to have good feedback, but the bad feedback is also great because it allows us opportunities to kind of improve on the services or see where the gaps are.
But I think one of the things as well, just, you know, as another kind of layer to all of this, is also using our alumni community.
Right.
And I have to say, this is something that, you know, universities over the pond in North America do incredibly well, really utilising that for career progression. But I think it is something now that we are starting to use more and more. We are seeing those alumni chapters pop up in, you know, New York, Chicago, Dublin, obviously closer to home, you know, but again, all of that is off the back of feedback from students and really, you know, galvanizing those networks and remaining kind of open and connected to each other.
So that's the feedback that we got from the students. So I'm just curious about what the partner have to say about us. Do they ever surprise with what we are doing?
You mean like the companies that we work with? Okay, so from my perspective in terms of the School of Business, I work very closely with our partners because of content development and so on.
Yes.
And most often they're just surprised at the level of preparation of some of the students, especially those students that have gone through all of the courses and all of the additional supports available to them to prepare them for the workforce. So the majority of the parents, especially like, let's say, Diligent, even Medtronic or Boston Scientific, when they get career placements, that's what they remark most of the time, is the preparedness of the student and the business etiquette that they bring along with them when they're in the workplace.
Love that. What about your partners?
Yeah, so from my partners, what we are seeing, and you touched on this earlier about kind of part of our distinctiveness is being our region and where we are in terms of being particularly a medtech hub. What we're seeing more and more from the kinds of agreements that we're building is questions like, is there the possibility to build in an internship? Which is slightly more complicated than a kind of usual academic partnership. But, so we're kind of getting into territory where we're sort of seeing, I guess a 1 + 1 + 0.5, which is the internship kind of thing. Right. So again, it is, I won't say shifting to more of a career focus, because I don't think that has ever not really been there, but I think that demand from students, I think the way in which students are looking at their education is perhaps shifting. I know very much when I was an undergraduate student, which wasn't that long ago, I was an undergraduate student in Cardiff University, and I studied music. So completely different to what I'm doing now. And it just didn't even occur to me, actually, to be honest, at the time, to think about, well, where am I going? It was more pick a subject you're good at. That was the trend, at least in the UK at the time. Now it's much more career driven, which, going back to the partners, they are trying to fill that demand, and international internships wrapped around a master's course, for instance, is a really invaluable experience. You've got then your international engagement, your career engagement. Also, a lot of the reason that people want to partner with us is the kind of stay back visa for work as well. So that, again, it's all kind of creating this pipeline of where are we going, rather than, it doesn't end with the, right, you've completed your course, off you go, we never want to hear from you again. It is really about that kind of lifelong learning and support, really.
I think we have a great example in this Global Business, which is the marketing practice program. So all students have to do a year-long internship. So that means we have to find, like, for example, this year, 33 partners that will find, that will take at least one student. But the eagerness of the partners to take those students is what actually surprises, because we were like, we thought it was going to be a lot more complicated to find these many partners. But it's because of that culture is starting to kind of be recognized in the workforce or in the industry around us, that University of Galway students are prepared to do the jobs they're expected to do, and actually they go beyond what they're expected to do. Yeah.
Well, this has been a great conversation.
Right. I think we got a lot.
I'm taking notes myself.
Right.
Well, so Axel, Catherine, thanks so much for sharing journeys, insights, and it's really great to hear how Openness has really shaped how the university approaches their interaction with their students.
Yeah, and what really stayed with me is that Openness is not just about like being eager to voice that, but also, open to critical feedbacks, and also being transparent, and also that also lies in culture and the art here at the city as well. So thanks so much for these insights. That's it. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
Thank you so much, our listeners, for listening, and stay tuned for more stories from Galway with the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.